evening. My name is Beatrice Njeri. Our sign language interpreter is Paul Mathenge, and this is GBS News at 9 coming to you live from Kenya's capital, Nairobi. We have a lot lined up for you tonight, but first, here are the highlights.
This is the second state visit from Kenya to the United States.
Just landed, President William Ruto has arrived in the United States of America to begin a 3-day state visit, where he will be a special guest at the Carter Presidential Library and Museum in Atlanta, Georgia.
Point is clear: without compensation and confirmation, we are not coming back.
Confirm us and pay us, junior secondary school teachers demand as the Teacher Service Commission threatens sacking. Finance Bill 2024, manufacturers raise concerns on proposed eco-levy. On the brink of history, Junior Harambee Starlets win over Ethiopia moves them closer to a historic World Cup qualification. To begin our bulletin, President William Samoei Ruto has arrived in the United States of America to begin a 3-day state visit. He will be at the Carter Presidential Library and Museum in Atlanta, Georgia, to deliver a speech on governance and democratic values, anti-corruption, democracies working together. The president is expected to make a strong case for Kenya as Africa's top and most strategic investment destination. The state visit by Ruto is the second after the late President Mwai Kibaki's in 2003 and is very significant to Kenya. This is according to Kenyan ambassador to the U.S., Lazarus Amayo. The trip is the highest expression of bilateral ties between the United States and Kenya. 6 years ago, the United States and Kenya elevated their ties to a strategic partnership. They also established a strategic dialogue that prioritized economic prosperity, trade and investment, democracy, governance, regional issues, and public health, among others.
This is the second state visit from Kenya to the United States. The last one was by President Mwai Kibaki during his first term in office in 2003. So we are making one now in 2024, almost 21 years after the previous one. And the host government is quite keen to promote an environment that will be able to further strengthen our relations. And unlike the regular official visits, this state visit, by definition, is the highest expression of bilateral relations between two countries. In this case, Kenya and the United States. In this visit, unlike the official one I talked about, we'll have almost 3 days dedicated to His Excellency the President and his delegation. And the pomp starts right from arrival itself at the JBA Joint Base Andrews, and then even to a visit to the Arlington National Cemetery, and then the official arrival welcome at the White House itself with a 21-gun salute. And then the following day, on Thursday, we'll have, of course, the official arrival ceremony, as I said, with 21-gun salute, followed by bilateral talks, a press conference, and then thereafter, of course, in the evening, you'll have the state dinner in honor of His Excellency President Ruto and Her Excellency Madam Ruto. This will be culminated on Friday with a meeting with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and Industry, with the captains or leaders of the industry in this country, a large number of them. That will be an opportunity for Kenya to pitch for U.S. investments in Kenya, and we are glad that there is close collaboration between the Department of Commerce, the U.S. Embassy in Nairobi led by Ambassador Whitman, and all parties concerned to make this visit a successful one and to help us reach out to a larger constituency than what we've had before. Even in terms of publicity, the U.S. remains a major export destination for Kenya. So to speak, actually, is the second largest export destination for Kenyan goods after Uganda. The value of our bilateral trade last year was about 1.5 billion US dollars. And as it has been over the last 3 or 4 years, it's a fairly balanced trade relations, where, for example, last year we had about 800 million as our imports. The exports were about 700 million. The previous year there was a slight change. But what we are looking at now, and part of the reason why we warmly welcome and look forward to achievements that will occur as a result of the visit, is the desire to expand the volume of trade between Kenya and the United States. Not only the volume, but also to add value addition to what we are exporting to the United States. And in addition, we are also keen in attracting more American investment into Kenya. We have had significant inroads made as a result of the many reforms that the government of Kenya has continued to make in the course of creating an environment that makes it possible for investors to choose Nairobi as their landing bay, not only for the Kenyan or East African market, but even for the wider market, whether it is under the framework of the East African community or under COMESA or even the AFCFTA. And so this to us is a very important visit that goes to cement and strengthen our economic relations between our two countries.
President William Ruto and First Lady Rachel Ruto departed on Sunday evening for a 4-day state visit to the United States. In a press conference, State House spokesperson Hussein Mohammed revealed that the president is supposed to meet President Joe Biden. Ruto's visit, according to Mohammed, is the first state visit made by a Kenyan head of state in 2 decades and the first made by an African president since 2018. Here are the details. President William Ruto jetted out of the country on Sunday evening for a 5-day state visit to the United States with a full tray of events lined up for him. In a press conference, State House spokesperson Hussein Mohammed revealed that the president will meet President Joe Biden. Ruto's visit, according to Mohammed, is the first state visit made by a Kenyan head of state in 2 decades and the first made by an African president since 2018.
It is a historic milestone as the first state visit by a Kenyan head of state in 2 decades, and the first by an African head of state since 2008. The visit demonstrates the robust partnership between Kenya and the United States and is a fitting tribute to 60 years of diplomatic ties that we are celebrating as Kenya and the United States. During this period, Kenya and the United States have enjoyed deepening and mutually beneficial cooperation at bilateral and multilateral levels, resulting in the elevation of the relationship in 2018 to a strategic partnership.
This strategic partnership, the State House spokesperson established a structure for the continued interstate Kenya-US bilateral strategic dialogue, anchored on 5 main themes. The themes include economic prosperity, trade and investment, defense cooperation, democracy, governance and civilian security, multilateral and regional issues, and health cooperation. On Monday, President Ruto's visit will commence in Atlanta, Georgia. On Tuesday, the president will commence his 2nd day at Spelman College, where he will discuss the critical role of higher education, particularly science and technology, enhancing Kenya's human capital, among other scheduled meetings.
His remarks there will underline the importance of democracies working collaboratively to tackle global challenges. The President will then visit Ebenezer Baptist Church to pay homage to the civil rights struggle and emphasize how religion can be a force for good. This visit will underscore the respect for historical struggles for equality and justice. The 3rd area of engagement tomorrow, that is on Monday 20th, in Atlanta, Georgia, will focus on the US-Kenya Health Partnership at the Center for Disease Control, CDC headquarters. Among key announcements will include the new CDC-KEMRI partnership.
Since December 2022, Kenya and the U.S. have enhanced in bilateral and multilateral engagements through participation in the U.S.-Africa Summit, the third bilateral strategic dialogue in April 2023, the National Prayer Breakfast in February 2024, and roadshows in Chicago and New York. These engagements have led to increased investments by the U.S. tech companies in Kenya, including Microsoft, Google, Kisco, and IBM, among others. In a significant move to combat climate change, the Ministry of Interior and National Administration, in collaboration with the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, has enhanced the capacity of the 47 county commissioners across the country. Through a specialized training program developed with the Kenya School of Government, these commissioners are now better equipped to lead tree planting initiatives and monitor climate change interventions in their region. This effort underscored Kenya's commitment to achieving the UN-recommended 10% forest cover, reinforcing the nation's dedication to environmental sustainability. Here is more on the same.
Ministry of Interior and National Administration has strengthened the capacity of the 47 county commissioners in spearheading tree planting activities through training and exercise, jointly supported by the Ministry of Environment and Forestry. The training curriculum, co-created with the Kenya School of Government, will empower the county commissioners in monitoring and reporting mechanism for climate change interventions within their respective counties.
There is the background,
It's against this backdrop that the ministry has developed what we are calling the National Climate Change Security Readiness Program, a strategic framework to guide and energize our efforts. This program is an internal mobilization strategy for the effective involvement of all national government administrative officers, providing strategic preparedness and a coordination mechanism to support the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry, along with other stakeholders in the nationwide implementation of the climate change interventions.
The training is in line with the objective of the National Climate Change Security Readiness Program to build the capacity of all national government administrative officers for effective participation, stakeholders management, and coordination in the government's climate change programs.
We are also advocating that as we report, to be able to monitor our performance, we will be very keen in how we are going to report the targets. We have an app, the Jazamiti app, which I know most of you have been appraised about. It is basically a mobile phone app that will help us to give real-time reporting of our efforts. But even after reporting real-time, moving forward we'll be able to monitor survival and also the achievements on a yearly basis.
The renewed tree planting efforts reflect Kenya's commitment to achieving the United Nations recommended minimum of 10% forest cover per country, a target enshrined in national law. Susan Nganga, GBS News.
Junior secondary school teachers have continued their strike for the second week, advocating for permanent contracts. In Machakos County, the teachers marched from Machakos Town to the offices of the Teacher Service Commission. They asserted that despite performing the same duties as employed teachers, they face discrimination in their employment. Similar demonstrations have also occurred in Kirinyaga and Taita Taveta counties. Here is more on the same. In the wake of prolonged school closures stemming from widespread flooding across the nation, a looming crisis threatens the education of more than 2.5 million grade 8 and 9 students in junior secondary schools.
Now, in junior secondary functions of the body,
Junior secondary school teachers across the country have continued their strike for the second week, advocating for permanent contracts. In their demands, the intern teachers want to be paid salaries that match of their counterparts in permanent and pensionable status for the period they have been working.
Point is clear, without compensation and confirmation, we are not coming back. We are not. Anybody who is going here? No. We are not, and we have agreed that. And those who are threatening us, any kind of victimization, any kind of threats, we are not buying it. And those in authority, we are protected by our constitution.
The move comes days after the court rendered a ruling declaring their permanent contracts illegal. However, last week, the same court granted a reprieve to the Teacher Service Commission, allowing them to maintain the status of their employment until the Commission either obtains temporary orders from the Court of Appeal or reaches a compromise. Previously, the teachers' pursuit of permanent employment failed to yield favorable outcomes as the Employment and Labor Relations Court ruled that the Teacher Service Commission lacked adequate funds and instructed them to return back to their classrooms. Do keep your comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. On that note, let's take our very first break. We'll be right back with even more.
The 12 commandments of cancer prevention.
When you look at it realistically, it's something that starts from within you, from your own cells. So all of us, as we are seated here, some cancer cells are forming. But we have a secret service in the body which is more efficient if you have had enough sleep, or if you have exercised, or if you are having enough fruit and vegetables to mop up the radicals. That secret service is called the natural killer cells. They are always killing the cells so that they don't develop in full-blown cancer.
Basic and simple things that we all know, but apparently we don't practice.
We're having a big problem because this country soon will have no human beings.
When you hear about cancer, sometimes you think it's the end of the world.
You are overthinking, you get? So you're secreting a lot of stress hormones. So why can't you relax? Or maybe just remove your shoes and walk bare feet.
And remember, the topic of the day is embracing one's role as a single man.
Ile ingine ni kutengwa na watu. Watu wengi ukiona single mother akiongea na bwanako, maingizazi na kuanga tu bwana kuembea.
Kuna any organization inaweza kuwa at least hata ile msupport, ama ni wewe tumengangana kivyako akaingia hivyo.
Facial creams wenye wanatumianga. But before unjuane na hao wamama akina kuanga ngumu. Unapatanga huyo mtoto already amechange hiyo kara, njoo afai kukaa kwa njua.
Kuna hiyo organization inakuanga na plans za kuongelesha watoto.
Kama wazazi
in the future wanaji accept. By the time wana realize they are not different. They are different.
I think akili yangu ilikuja kuona kabisa niko peke yangu. Ni penye saa unapigia handi au mambeste, kuna mtu anakuchukulia simu. Na mimi nilikuanga na mambeste wengi. Mimi niliachiwa tu mmoja. Anaitwa Shkosheila. Akiona hii video, thank you so much mama.
Thank you Shiko.
Asante, enjoy. Alisimama na mimi.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back. You're still watching GBS News 9. The Kenya Association of Manufacturers has raised concerns about the proposed Finance Bill 2024. In a statement on Monday, the manufacturers said whereas there are some progressive proposals in the proposed law aimed at promoting manufacturing growth, several others shall hinder this objective and ultimately impact mwananchi. Here are the details.
The environmental footprint might face heavy financial burden. Following a proposed eco-levy tucked away in the new finance bill draft, industry players have warned that the levy, which is backed by the Ruto administration, aims to promote responsible waste management. Yet it could end up squeezing household budgets and hindering access to essential technology. In its latest statement, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers has highlighted some of the expected impacts of the proposed law. The association argues that the proposed introduction of equal levy on selected goods manufactured in Kenya or imported into Kenya provided under Schedule 4 of the Miscellaneous Fees and Levies Act will automatically lead to price increase on all plastic packaging materials, batteries and hygiene products. Highlighting its forefront position for supporting environmental conservation, CAM adds that the equal levy will not only duplicate the existing levy mandated under the extended producer responsibility schemes, but will also further reverse Kenya's initiatives to create a circular economy to manage its waste and become a regional recycling hub through the proposed removal of the incentive to increase investments in recycling of waste products. For instance, the impact of this proposal will increase the packaging cost by 100% in cases where the cost of the raw material is equal to the proposed levy. CAM, however, suggests that the country should focus more on supporting the manufacturing industry to reduce the cost of locally produced products and services, to drive job and wealth creation and boost productivity. According to the Manufacturers Association, this will lower the cost of living for mwananchi and create prosperity for Kenya. Hilary Kabila, GBS News.
Moving on, Mount Kenya leaders have accused Ruto's administration of mistreating the deputy president and sidelining his office. Addressing the congregation in a church on Sunday at Endarasha in Nyeri County, leaders who joined the deputy president warned Ruto's administration for sidelining one of their own, as Davis Karani reports.
This silence in the presidency has officially sprouted out after a section of leaders from Mount Kenya region came out loud and pointed out an accusing finger to the government for mistreating the deputy president Rigathi Gachagua.
Kama mbaya, but he will not be taken through that. Hatutaruhusu. He will not be taken through that. Hakupewa kiti na mtu, alingangania. Na hicho kiti kura tulizozipiga ndizo zilimpa deputy president. And he is not a deputy president by default.
This comes a week after the deputy president Rigathi Gachagua went underground and missing all the official government functions, including the welcoming of the Ugandan president and escorting him out of the country on Friday afternoon. Many Kenyans believe that Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga's utterances were intentional just to test on how the government would respond, since the current president is said to have gone through a lot of humiliations in President Uhuru Kenyatta's regime.
Na ilibidi sisi kama taifa, sisi kama jamii, tuangalie mtoto wetu, tumwambie mtoto wetu ondoka, enda kando, tumempata mwingine hapa ambaye wewe unaendelea kumnyanyasa. Alikosewa heshima, akanyimwa magari, akanyimwa mambo mengi. Na sisi tukaona kama Wakikuyu, kama mlima, tukasema huyu ndiye alisimama na mtoto wetu. Na imefika wakati wake, tumemfanyia madharau na mambo haya na kumdhihaki. Sisi kama jamii tukasema tumekataa na tunamchagua. We will not allow our son to go through that at all.
President William Ruto's administration has been silent, but the series of events arising at the moment need to be gauged politically. If really Gachagua is being mistreated, or the mountain is trying to attract sympathy to destabilize Ruto's regime in the mountain, which is facing division at the moment on a bid to take the kingpinship position between Gachagua, Nyoro and Moses Kuria. Davis Karani, GBS News, Nairobi.
And now moving to matters international news, the news has broken that President Ibrahim Raisi has died. Red Crescent search crews have arrived at the site where the helicopter carrying the president and his foreign minister went down. 73 teams are currently in the area near Tal village, where all 9 people on board are believed to be dead. The wreckage was found in Iran's East Azerbaijan province, though the Red Crescent reporting that crews equipped with advanced and specialized gear reached the site following a thorough search operation that mobilized 30% of Iran's armed forces. Here is the full report.
People are waking up to the shocking news that President Ibrahim Raisi has died. Red Crescent search teams have arrived at the helicopter crash site carrying the president and his foreign minister. 73 teams are currently deployed near Tal village, with all 9 people on board believed to be deceased. The wreckage was discovered in Iran's East Azerbaijan province. President Raisi's journey began in Haf, a border town near Afghanistan, before heading towards Tabriz in the northwest. The helicopter crashed in the mountainous region near Urmia, with thick fog and rain hindering search efforts in the remote area. Ibrahim Raisi's death ends a long career at the heart of Iranian's clerical establishment. Born into a clerical family in Mashhad, Iran's second largest city and home to the holiest Shia Muslim shrine in Iran, Raisi was just 5 when his father, a renowned cleric, passed away. His family close ties with the clerical establishment facilitated his rise. In 1983, Raisi married the daughter of Hamad Alam Lohoda, a powerful cleric and representative of the supreme leader in Mashhad. At 25, he became the deputy prosecutor in Tehran. He was one of the 4 judges of the secret tribunals in 1988.
Very sad news, sending our heartfelt condolences to Iran. Many thanks for joining this live broadcast. We have a lot lined up for you in our news segment tonight, but first let us take a quick commercial break.
Today on the show, we are talking about nurturing the emotional intelligence in children.
The parents of this generation, they are very busy. Whereby we have left the gadgets to be in charge and the house managers.
Especially when you're thinking about yourself, there are 3 levels of thoughts. There is the first level, there is the second level of thought, and there is also the third level of thought.
What is nurturing a child in the emotional intelligence way?
A lot of focus has been put on the intelligence.
And when we talk about desire and self-control, desire is something that is in our hearts. But self-control does not come from within us.
And at what age are we supposed now to start molding our children and correcting whenever they're doing wrong?
So through the 4 gospel books, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, John, we can know the heart of Jesus in depth.
그리고 우리가 느끼는 그 예수님을 성경을 통해 느낄 수 있어서 너무 감사합니다.
And the Jesus that we can feel him through the scriptures, and I'm very thankful about that. Jesus Christ came to this earth for our sins.
지셨고,
he carried our sins.
십자가에 못 박혀 죽어 죄의 형벌을 당하셨고,
and he was crucified, and he received the punishment for sins.
무덤에 들어가셨다가,
and he was put into the tomb.
사흘 만에 부활하셨습니다.
And resurrected in 3 days.
이것이 우리가 말하는 복음입니다.
This is the gospel that we speak.
예수님께 우리 죄를 위해 죽으신 이야기.
About how Jesus died for our sins. The purpose of Jesus being crucified.
우리 죄를 담당하기 위하여 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으셨습니다.
He was crucified to pay for our sins.
예수 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으심으로 우리 죄가 분명히 씻어졌는데.
And through Jesus being crucified, clearly our sins have been washed clean.
참 안타깝게도 많은 사람은 여전히 죄인이라고 말합니다.
However, unfortunately, many people still say that they are sinners.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back to the broadcast. Since the 1980s, the East African community countries have undertaken comprehensive economic reforms aimed at reducing direct government intervention in the economy and stimulating the growth of the private sector, recognized as the engine of economic growth. Here is more on the same.
Has aborted the attempted coup that was led by self-exiled opposition leader Christian Malanga, who was killed on spot, and several foreigners arrested among the coup perpetrators. The army spokesperson said that 30 people were killed in the city of Kinshasa, and the United Nations Stabilization Team in Congo came into rescue in favor of the government after the attackers evaded the presidential palace.
Only me can apologize for this.
The situation has been restored and everything has come into normalcy in Congo after the Congo army came into rescue.
Moving on May 17th, during a hearing at The Hague, the State of Israel requested the International Court of Justice to reject the request for the modification and indication of provisional measures submitted by the Republic of South Africa. Gilad Noam, co-agent of Israel, stated to the members of the court that the case, even by its very name and application of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in Gaza Strip, suggested an evasion of reality. The hearing came after the request for the indication and modification of provisional measures submitted by South Africa last week. Through the court hearing, South Africa's oral argument on Thursday, May 16th.
By the Republic of South Africa on May 10, 2024, for the indication of additional provisional measures and the modification of previous provisional measures in the case concerning application of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in the Gaza Strip, South Africa versus Israel. I now give the floor to the co-agent of Israel, Mr. Gilad Noam. You have the floor, sir.
Mr. President, members of the court, it is an honor to appear before you once again on behalf of the State of Israel. This case, even by its very name, the application of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in the Gaza Strip, suggests an inversion of reality.
I thank the co-agent of Israel.
Mr. President, members of the court, it is an honor to appear before you on behalf of the State of Israel. As you have just heard, Israel is still under attack. We are still counting more and more of our dead and attending 2,000 more who are wounded. The State of Israel requests the court to reject the request for the modification and indication of provisional measures submitted by the Republic of South Africa.
Government forces in the Democratic Republic of Congo successfully thwarted an attempt coup, an incident which unfolded Saturday night, leaving the nation on the edge while authorities work to restore order to investigate those involved. The coup involved foreigners and some Congolese who evaded President Felix Tshisekedi's office through the DRC army, likewise confirming the killing of the self-exiled opposition figure, namely Christian Malanga. Here is more on the same.
The Democratic Republic of Congo Army has aborted the attempted coup that was led by self-exiled opposition leader Christian Malanga, who was killed on spot, and several foreigners arrested among the coup perpetrators. The army spokesperson said that 3 people were killed in the city of Kinshasa, and the United Nations Stabilization Team Congo came into rescue in favor of the government after the attackers evaded the presidential palace.
Only me can apologize for this.
The situation has been restored and everything has come into normalcy in Congo after the Congo army came into rescue.
Brutal violence, famine, disease, and widespread displacement are affecting 9 million people in Sudan, including 4 million children, according to the UN Humanitarian Diary report issued in Geneva on Friday. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, reported that famine, disease, and ongoing conflict were closing in on Sudanese civilians, particularly in Darfur, through Jens Lack, OCHA spokesperson, highlighting the urgent need for humanitarian aid. The conflict between Sudan's military and the Rapid Support Forces, which began in April 2023, led to widespread devastation through the Rapid Support Forces controlling much of Darfur while besieging North Darfur's capital, El Fasher.
war. The overall response plan aims to reach and support 15 million of the worst affected people. Collectively, we ask for 2.7 billion American dollars. As of today, 4.5 months into the year, we have received 12% of that. This is not just an underfunded appeal. It is a catastrophically underfunded appeal.
13 months of war in Sudan, 9 million people displaced, which represents around 17% of the population, and the largest internal displacement crisis in the world today. Close to 16,000 people have died and 33,000 have been injured. But the toll of the war is probably much higher.
There is what I can term a silent emergency happening in Uganda, where 300,000 have come over the past 2.5 years, most of whom have come from South Sudan and the DRC. We have had recent arrivals from Sudan as well. This year alone, about 19,000 refugees have come from Sudan.
In response, each of them acknowledged the importance of respecting international humanitarian law. General Burhan also indicated that he would facilitate visas for our staff. We currently only have one international staff member in Port Sudan, and we are hoping to get visas for more staff to be able to go in, and for the High Commissioner's designated expert on Sudan to be able to go in as well.
During a press briefing recently, the White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre voiced Washington's concern regarding Georgia's Kremlin-style foreign agents legislation, warning against the passage of foreign agent bill that could lead to a fundamental reassessment of U.S.-Georgia relations. The Georgian parliament adopted the foreign agent bill in the third reading with a vote of 84-30. A bill will be submitted to President Salome for approval within the next 10 days, though she has previously pledged to vet it. The controversial legislation imposed strict regulations on NGOs and independent media, requiring organizations that receive more than 20% of their funding from foreign donors to register as foreign agents. Jean-Pierre also addressed the safety of humanitarian aid workers, assuring that the U.S. government would continue discussions with the Israeli authorities to ensure their protection, emphasizing the need to safeguard Palestinians in Rafah, where over 1 million displaced individuals currently reside amid reports of Israel's planned offensive.
Parliament will try to override a potential veto. We have been outspoken about our concerns with the legislation, which runs counter to democratic values and would move Georgia further away from the values of the European Union, and let's not forget also NATO. The Georgian people have been making their views known about this legislation, protesting in the streets, as you all have been reporting. This weekend, we saw some of the largest protests in Georgia's history, with tens of thousands of peaceful protesters undeterred by intimidation tactics, telling their government to oppose this legislation because they want Euro-Atlantic future. We will see what the Parliament does, but if this legislation passes, it will compel us to fundamentally reassess our relationship with Georgia.
Does the White House estimate are currently trapped inside Gaza and unable to get out, and is there a plan?
Humanitarian aid workers obviously are brave to do the work that they're doing, not just in Gaza, but around the world, whether it's Sudan, Haiti, many places that they actually go out there and do that brave work to offer assistance much needed. We want to make sure that they have the ability to continue that work. I don't have an estimate for you on the number of people, to your question, but it is imperative, it is important that we see humanitarian aid workers protected, and those are conversations that we continue to have with the Israeli government.
Is there an expectation that China will retaliate, and if indeed that happens?
And the president has been also very clear. This is about American workers, this is about American companies, this is about protecting them, and we have been also very clear that China's policies, trade policies, have been unfair, and we've had concerns. You heard the ambassador talk about how you've seen cabinet level conversations about this over the year.
Today to young people. I'm not going to repeat that language. I don't use that language. But
Look, there's no need. There's no need for a trade war. That is not what this is not what this is about. This is about protecting, again, American workers. This is about protecting American businesses.
Do keep your comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. And international news brings us to our sports news. Let's get sporty. The Kenya Under-17 national team junior starlets took a significant step towards making history by securing qualification to the fourth and final round of the 2024 FIFA Under-17 Women World Cup qualifiers. The team clinched a decisive 3-0 victory against Ethiopia on Sunday at Ulinzi Sports Complex. Captain Elizabeth Ochaka led from the front by setting the tone of the match, heading home a goal in the 44th minute, giving Kenya a crucial halftime lead. Her strike boosted the team's confidence even more heading into the second half. In the 55th minute, Velma Awor extended the lead with a well-executed goal, pushing their momentum. Victory was sealed in the 70th minute when Lorna Faith found the back of the net. This win propels the junior starlets into the fourth round of the qualifiers, bringing them just one step away from a historic first-ever World Cup qualification. The next challenge for the junior starlets is a crucial tie against Burundi in the final round of the 2024 World Cup qualifiers. This match will determine whether Kenya can secure its place on the global stage and compete in the FIFA Under-17 Women World Cup for the first time.
Anaachilia bazoka kutoka nje kisanduku. Kenya wanapata bao la pili dakika 56. Kenya Lorna Faith anaachilia bazoka kama alivyofanya Velma. Julikana kama Lorna Faith. Piga shoti zuri sana kutokea mbali jamani. Wakenya wanasimama magoli matatu. Mguu mmoja ndani ya raundi ya 4. Kwa nakwambia alianza katika mechi ya mkondo wa raundi ya kwanza. Mimi ni Joseph Mobili, tupatane tena Mungu akipenda katika raundi ambayo inafuata.
Having already taken some impressive scouts in circuit racing, rising star Cheche Babu hopes to raise the bar even higher by achieving newer limits in his non-turbo buggy contraption. Cheche has been in fine form in the Kenya National Autocross Championship this season, and his results have spoken for themselves. In Ethiambo, who has the most assists in the FKF Premier League this season, he has also earned a call-up. Additionally, the coach has summoned Tobias Nost of the Pliers he stayed in Germany with S. Rival and Bruce Kamau, who features for the Perth Glory in Australia.
Nice to finally meet up with the squad and get training. The standard was good as well, so just grateful to be here and looking forward to the next couple of days. Yeah, it's been really good. The staff are very helpful. They give us everything we need. Obviously got kit, the training's good as well. Got good physio, and there's gym work as well, which is good to help us be strong and prepare for the game physically. Ambitions are high. I think from the squad we've got at the moment, it's a really good squad, and I think we have a good manager, and maybe kwenda Europe, so na feel ni boost kubwa pia in terms of my ambitions. Everybody asks for his favorite players, and the door is always open for every player here in Kenya. So, but for the other players, all of them, the door is open. And you see also that we change sometimes. Look, the last 2 matches, for example, Elvis Rupia was playing in the starting 11, and he was goal getter number 1 in Kenya. He make a transfer, good transfer, money transfer to Tanzania. He's not with us, so therefore sometimes there are changes in the squad depending on the form, depending on what the team needs at the moment. So therefore the door is open, like I said, but I really don't care if I have to answer to every player, every favorite of any won health rounds, and I would never finish here. For us, I know that many people expect against top teams that we lose 5-6-0 or whatever, but you saw against Iran we played well. The referee killed us in this game, otherwise we would never lose there. Against Qatar, we got the result we wanted. We won in Qatar against the Asia champion. People forget always against whom we are playing, how strong these teams are. So, and now against Russia, this has a lot of meanings for us because we are now on the way to open doors for Kenyan football. It's not only about the national team, to make Kenyan football known. The boys are doing their best to represent their countries against this kind of big teams. For the players, it's a big experience, and also, of course, showcase to show what they can. So, because I hope that we will not only have the experience from these games, and I think also we will have soon also some players transferring to these countries also, or to countries around, especially the match in Qatar. It make really a big impact for Kenyan football in all Gulf countries. So therefore I'm very hopeful that this will help not only the players, also the clubs in Kenya to have new connections and to market themselves and also in these countries, and also to sell players, which is very important for Kenyan football to have income from this.
Imperious Manchester City beat West Ham 3-1 at Etihad Stadium to become the first team to win the English League title 4 seasons in a row. Manchester City have now gone 35 matches unbeaten in all competitions, excluding penalty shootouts. This is the longest unbeaten run ever by a Premier League team. Here are the details. Moving on, Bayer Leverkusen became the first Bundesliga team to finish a league season unbeaten as their dream of an invisible treble remained alive. Leverkusen's season-long unbeaten run is now at 51 games in all competitions, already breaking a 59-year-old UEFA record. 2 more wins will secure a remarkable treble. Should they finish the season unbeaten in all competitions, then it will be 53 games they have gone without experiencing defeat. Xabi Alonso's side had already secured their first league title but made more history as Saturday's 2-1 win at home against Augsburg ensured they finished the domestic campaign undefeated. Leverkusen were rarely troubled at Augsburg as the Victor Boniface opened the scoring after 12 minutes, converting Amin Adil's pass from inside the penalty area. The lead was doubled soon after from close-range effort by Robert, and despite Mert Kermel's second half strike in replay, Leverkusen was able to finish a memorable league campaign in winning ways. This season, they won 28 of their 34 games in the Bundesliga, scoring 89 goals and conceding just 24. They face Atlanta in the Europa League final in Dublin on Wednesday, followed by the German Cup final against second tier 3 days later. Moving on, Imperious Manchester City beat West Ham 3-1 at Etihad Stadium to become the first team to win the English League title 4 seasons in a row. Manchester City have now gone 35 matches unbeaten in all competitions, excluding penalty shootouts. This is the longest unbeaten run ever by a Premier League team. Here are the details.
Needing a win to be sure of holding off Arsenal, who started the final day 2 points behind but with a better goal difference. Phil Foden put Pep Guardiola's side ahead after just 2 minutes. The England star added another before the break, and although Mohamed Kudus pulled one back, midfielder Rodri restored the home side's 2-goal lead with a shot from the edge of the area after 59 minutes. Manchester City survived a late scare when West Ham had a second goal ruled out by VAR for handball. The win completed a staggering run of 19 wins and 4 draws since their last defeat in the league at Aston Villa on December 6th. Manchester City extended their unbeaten home run to 44 games in all competition. Manchester City have now won 6 out of the past 7 Premier League titles. Last term, they joined Huddersfield, Arsenal, Liverpool and Manchester United twice in winning the top flight 3 years in a row. Now Guardiola's team have achieved something no other men's side has managed since the English League was formed in 1988. On 25th May, they will aim to become the first side to complete the domestic double in successive seasons when they face Manchester United in the FA Cup final at Wembley. Reporting for GBS TV, seasons when they face Manchester United in the FA Cup final at Wembley. Reporting for GBS TV, I am John Kinyanjui.
And just to leave you, the President William Samoei Ruto has arrived in the United States of America to begin a 3-day state visit. He will be at the Qatar Presidential Library and Museum in Atlanta, Georgia, and will dive into the speech as well. My name is Beatrice Njeri. Our sign language interpreter is Paul Mathenge, and we leave you with the President's speech in Georgia. Let's listen in and do keep the conversation going through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. Let's listen in.
Everywhere, GBS.
And the system. But to me, if the state was to decide, or the system decide, a different person would be standing before you today as President of Kenya. It is as an impartial arbiter steadily building voter confidence. Transparent election processes, including the use of electronic systems for voter registration, election validation, and results transmission, ensure the integrity of elections, making every vote count and every voice to be heard. We are ready to share our experience in this space, even with the United States. To further ensure electoral integrity, a comprehensive, predictable constitutional framework exists for election dispute resolution. Notably, the Supreme Court has resolved disputes 4 times, including annulment of the 2017 election, in which I was a candidate. It is quite countries, including the United States and 18 African nations, will go to the polls. Importantly, this robust democratic engagement counters a growing, not so true wave of narrow nationalism, intolerance, targeting of minorities, violent political contests, and other anti-democratic tendencies. In several countries, we've seen unconstitutional changes of government that have threatened democratic gains. Consequently, this is worldwide. Many countries are in economic and debt climate change and compounded by an unjust international financial architecture and also an imperfect multilateralism. We now run the escalating risk of democracy and free markets being associated with poverty and suffering, lending credence to the white democracy is or has been on the retreat in many parts of the world, including Africa. Later this week, I will have the privilege to engage with members of the American Congress, and I'm happy one of them is here, to make a case international financial architecture that will afford every developing country concessionary development financing to support our economies, build resilience against the effects of climate change, economy, and energize our democratic enterprise. Kenya hosted the World Bank's IDA 21 Replacement Summit 3 weeks ago, bringing together the African continent and the World Bank to urge our development partners, led by our friends, the United States of America, to enhance their contribution to the concessional window of the World Bank so that we can support developing countries. I believe the United States of America has a historic opportunity to lead the free world in dealing with this economic situation and give meaning to democracy and free market economy worldwide, including in Kenya and many other developing countries. Needless to say, it is a busy period for the King of Humanity. In this context, for solutions to regional and global challenges. The war in Ukraine, the conflicts in the Middle East, the fighting in Sudan, South Sudan, Eastern DRC, the Sahel, and terrorism in Somalia all demand fresh and strategic global leadership. Kenya is leading the institutional reform of the Africa Union to enhance its role in economic development, peace and security, and stability across Africa, and foster infrastructure development. The United States of America has a significant opportunity to collaborate with Kenya and the broader African continent in building the institutional capabilities necessary for economic prosperity, peace and security.
So God, the same God.